Good morning. So, as we talked about yesterday, we're already technically done with the 10 days of the Joy program. But I'm going to recommend again that you continue doing that if you can. Even if you only come up with one thing you're thankful for every day, or if you make a challenge to do that for the next year, you're going to write on your calendar one thing you're thankful for every day. That's absolutely better than nothing. But believe me, you have at least 10 if you want to continue going through that. This morning, I wanted to talk about armor. And it's funny because I come from a long line of people who served in the military. And the armor today isn't quite the same as it used to be, especially in biblical times. They don't have a full face mask, and they're not wearing chainmail, and they're not wearing outfits of metal. But it's similar because there are things that are meant to protect. You have a flak jacket, and you have things that are supposed to stop bullets, and you have a metal helmet, and all these kinds of things that are meant to protect you. Because when you're going into battle, when you're going to fight, your goal is to be as prepared as possible. And that means that you're wearing clothes that protect you, that you have knowledge that will protect you, skill, training, weapons, and all of that culminates to help you be effective to fight the enemy that you're up against. And in the Bible, God tells us something very similar. He talks exactly about the kind of armor that we're supposed to put on. And we're supposed to put that armor on every single day. Because unlike a soldier who fights during a time of war, or who gets to be home sometimes and then goes and fights, we're fighting a battle every single day. And I just want to reach out to those of you who feel like you're losing the battle, because you're not. You're not losing. It feels like you're losing. It's overwhelming. It's heartbreaking. It's scary. But when God is fighting for you, you can be nothing but victorious. I mentioned the other day that I've mentioned on my Facebook page, not so much in a video necessarily, but that I've been praying for several people, and one of them was for a woman battling breast cancer. And I saw this morning that she had passed away. She had a long battle with breast cancer, and it seems like she lost. And you're right, this earthly body faded, and it couldn't keep up. But sometimes when we ask God for healing, it isn't now that we get it. He's able to heal our body completely, and sometimes it isn't right now. Sometimes it's best that we take that rest, and we don't have to fight anymore here. But He will renew that body again one day. He will recreate her, and she will have a different body that isn't riddled with cancer, and that doesn't hurt, and isn't in pain, and isn't flawed or scarred or any of the things our bodies are. So sometimes when we ask for complete healing, we want it right now because we don't want to miss the people that we're going to have to say goodbye to. But it doesn't mean God isn't faithful to His word. It doesn't mean He isn't able to heal and to do more than we can ask or think. He is able to do that. I think that every moment we're on this earth, and every moment we have breath in our lungs, we're supposed to be working for Him. And there's different ways to do that. Sometimes it's just in a smile. Sometimes it's in telling someone thank you for what they've done for you. Sometimes it's in sharing your testimony. Sometimes it's in actively working for God as a pastor or a missionary or a Bible worker or whatever it is you're doing. Sometimes it's just being a decent human being. But we're supposed to be working for God in some way. And I think too many of us don't do that. We take for granted. And I'm talking about the people who believe in God to begin with. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't believe in God and are better Christians than most of the Christians I know. because they know what it is to be nice. And even God's doing that, whether they believe it or not. But we take for granted what God gives us, and we give up too easily, and we listen to Satan quicker than we think we do, because the first time he starts throwing arrows at us, instead of lifting our shield of faith, we allow ourselves to be pierced. And God says we don't have to live that way. We don't have to live in a spirit of fear. We don't have to live worried. We don't have to live as though, because we don't know what's happening next, there's something to fear in that. God knows what's happening next. And as I've said many, many times, his plan is perfect. But I want to read this morning Ephesians 6, 10 through 18. And I recommend that you go and read it for yourself. It's very, very important. If you ever were to memorize some Bible verses, these are the ones, because this is the battle we're fighting. And this is how God is telling us we can be victorious in that battle. We are fighting a battle. You're a soldier on the battlefield, and the war is between God and Satan, and God's going to win. And I hope that we're on the winning side. But we're definitely fighting the battle. These verses say, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might." His might, not yours. You don't have the power or the might. He does. "Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand the wiles of the devil." And the devil knows how to get you, believe me. He's good at his job. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities," that's authorities, "against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth." It's important to know what the truth is. "And having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching therefore unto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints." Verse 16 says, "Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked." I gotta tell you, he's always firing at us. There are a million, I'm gonna say that word again. There are a million darts fired our way, and they come in the form of doubt and worry and fear and temptation and sin and lust and a million other things. He's just always firing darts at us, and we are unable to protect ourselves without faith, without this whole armor. And it's not just the shield. You have to have the whole thing. You have to have the helmet, you have to have the shoes, you have to have the loins covered. You have to protect your whole self. And you can't do it. Only God can do it. But he's telling you how to do it. This is the instruction book right here. The instruction book on how to withstand this life that sometimes is overwhelmingly crappy. It really is sometimes. Life is so hard. And right now it just seems like there are an enormous amount of people dying, an enormous amount of people getting sick, an enormous amount of people suffering. But the reality is, we're only just recognizing it because it has always been that way. There have always been people dying. There have always been large groups of people suffering. There have always been an illness that was killing thousands of people. There's always been hatred. There's always been war. There's always been evil. But God says that it doesn't matter how bad the world gets. He's there for us, and he loves us, and he's fighting for us, and we can be victorious with him. And we can have that faith that he gives us. It's not ours. We don't have the ability to do it. We're losers without him. We'd be dead without him. We can do nothing without him or apart from him. But with him, we can do all things. He's fighting for us. Even if we never get up and fight with him, he's still fighting for us. And he loves you. And I love you. And he's working on your behalf. And he's not left you. And if you've lost a loved one recently, he's there to comfort you. And he knows what's best. And we don't always understand that. It's painful. We're left in pain sometimes in this world. But he's there to comfort us. And no one comforts like he does. No one supports like he does. He has everything we need. All you have to do is reach out and take it. And it doesn't mean that this moment won't be difficult. Sometimes it will be. But it's infinitely better when you're walking through that storm holding his hand. You know, when Peter was walking on the water to Christ, if he had kept his eyes on him, if he had never looked around at what was happening, never cared what the wind was doing or what the waves were doing, if he had just kept his eyes on Christ, he would have never fallen through that water. He would have walked all the way to him. We can do the same thing. It's not in our power or our might that we're able to walk on water, but it is with God. If we keep our eyes on him, he'll help us get through the hard moments. He'll help us overcome the pain. He'll heal us in ways that we don't even know that we're broken. And we'll be victorious. He wants us to win. He's going to win. We're on the winning side when we're on his team, when we're fighting with him. But we are on a battlefield. Don't forget that. Put on the full armor every day, every moment of every day. Memorize those verses. Write them down. Carry them around with you. Remember to thank God that he's fighting for you, because we lose without him. And always remember that I'm praying for you. It might be the only thing I can do for you, but I'm doing it. Prayer is a mighty thing, and God hears us, and he wants to answer our prayers, and he loves us infinitely and amazingly and more than we could ever know or think or understand. And I'm so thankful for that, because if I'm going to be honest, even though I'm not suffering through most of these things, it's overwhelming for me too. And it's sad. And I'm heartbroken. But I know that God has a plan. And that he's bigger than all that Satan's trying to do to us. And we will not be destroyed if we hold on to him. So don't let him go. And I'll pray that you never do. And I'll stand in the gap for you until you can see it for yourself. And I pray that other people will do the same. Go out and tell someone how wonderful they are today. Go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus. Don't forget to thank him for all he's doing for you. And don't forget to put on that armor. It's the only thing protecting you. Because Satan is trying to destroy you. But God is saving you. And God wins. Have a blessed day.